But now I give the floor to Petros.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, it is with great pleasure that we are discussing today for the second consecutive year the implementation and delivery of Sustainable Development Goals. This was a report that was not in our hands, and now it seems that we have decided to have an annual report. And this is good because we have to agree that we have failed so far to build an equitable and a resilient world that prospers within the planetary boundaries. And there is no costlier proof, no harder proof of our failure as a society than the cascading and overlapping climate, health, security, energy, cost of living, democracy, and peace crisis, which we are facing today, not only in Europe, but globally. So these multiple challenges require a systemic change, which requires a roadmap. The 17 SDGs and the accompanying 169 targets serve as this roadmap to the transformative change of our society, which must undergo to effectively address those challenges and lay the basis for the well-being of people and the planet. They provide the only universally agreed and universally applicable framework for global evidence-based policy making to tackle to avoid hitting the dual hard limits of our prosperity, and which are both anthropogenic and which are the climate crisis and the inequality crisis. Therefore, we often understate and underestimate the significance of the SDGs in our policy-making cycle. This is why we have strived over the past years to raise the SDGs high in the EU agenda and the workings of the European Parliament. At this point, I would like to thank Barry Andrews for his work last year and also for his work with the SDGs Alliance. So this draft report that we are presenting today, alongside my dear colleague Udo Bullmann, a true believer in the Sustainable Development Goals and a pioneer in their integration into the policy cycle, we hope will serve as an annual stock-taking of the progress we have made so far and identify our strengths and weaknesses, and equally providing useful conclusions on what we want to improve as a union to attain the objectives of the Agenda 2030 internally and globally. It also serves as a call for revamped action in this crucial year, because 2023 is a pivotal year for the SDGs implementation. We are less than 7 years away from the deadline, and we are already 8 years later than when we started them. As we experience a backslide and a pushback on several of goals and targets, we must urgently step our efforts up. And at this time where multilateralism is struggling, we must remain committed to this agenda and lead by example the global efforts to attain the goals everywhere and for all segments of society. The European Union has been and must continue to be at the forefront of the SDG implementation. It is our responsibility to demonstrate this leadership at the high-level political forum and at the summit of September 2023. So we welcome the European Union's commitment to prepare, ahead of the high-level political forum in July, the first European-wide voluntary review. We expect this important exercise within the Commission to lead to a mapping of the European Union's policy contribution to the global goals, and ultimately to a comprehensive overarching EU implementation strategy with quantified, measurable and time-bound targets, which is long overdue because we only have 7 years to achieve them. To attain the SDGs, we need a strong level of social legitimacy. We therefore urge again the Commission to establish a permanent platform for structured engagement with civil society organizations to regularly exchange on the SDG implementation. Equally relevant, we need to continue our work on localizing the SDGs, bringing them closer to the citizens and to the local governments, to the market, to the NGOs, and to the worker organizations. Finally, financing will define our ability to attain the goals both internally and globally. We have a moral obligation to help the Global South pay for the climate hazard caused by our historical emissions, and at the same time end poverty and inequalities worldwide. We therefore call for a new global financial architecture based on the principles of climate and social justice to rewire the trillions towards climate and development action. The Bridgetown Agenda is the blueprint. and debt relief and increased liquidity to provide the fiscal space to invest in a just transition, in proper adaptation, and civil protection for those that need it most from and are least responsible for bringing upon themselves. So, dear colleagues, distinguished friends, we're looking forward to your amendments before we take this back to our committee for voting and then to the plenary. Thank you.